It's college football season, which means you need the unbeatable coverage of Sling TV starting at just $35 a month. Sling has all the big games on all the biggest channels: ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN3, SEC Network, ACC Network, Fox, and the Big Ten Network, all for the best price. You can stream on any device. You can record up to 50 hours with your included DVR space. You can pause or change your service at any time. Check out sling.com for special offers. Sling, the live TV you love, for a price you'll love. Try it today. And welcome to the Andy Staples Show, presented by Sling. I'm joined now by Ari Wasserman. And Ari, Sling has joined us, and we're doing these What to Watch For segments on every Friday podcast. And, you know, with the games not starting yet, we'll pick a game once the season starts. But with the games not really started yet, we have to kind of pick an issue. And one was just dropped from the heavens on us today. And
we are experts in this issue too. Nobody is a bigger expert in this issue than me and you.
Yes. I want to thank Kyle Tucker from The Athletic. He covers Kentucky for us. I want to thank him for asking John Calipari a question about a practice facility. We talk about a practice facility. Yes, it produced a spectacular answer, one, but also an unbelievable response from Mark Stoops, the Kentucky football coach, who Ari and I think has the best college football job in America. So your What to Watch For, presented by Sling, is the feud between Kentucky football coach Mark Stoops and Kentucky basketball coach John Calipari, which you probably will see play out on the SEC Network over the next few days, because the basketball team is in the Bahamas playing exhibition games on the SEC Network. So it's going to get covered. It's going to get talked about. You'll be able to watch it there. But right now, we're going to talk about it for a long time, because if you listen to us, you know how we feel about Mark Stoops and about that job. And I love it. I think this is great, because you and I have said that the reason we think the Kentucky job is the best one in America is primarily because most of the pressure is on John Calipari. You know, as long as Mark Stoops is outperforming Kentucky's history, which is not particularly great in football, they're happy with him. And all the angst and agitation goes to John Calipari. But you get this quote from John Calipari, and it riles up Mark Stoops, and it's tremendous. So let's hear the quote first. And all these quotes from John Calipari are tremendous. Kyle told us, Kyle is covering a basketball game in the Bahamas right now. Otherwise, he would be joining us on the show. But he told us that basically he asked the question about this thing, and John Calipari goes off for 12 minutes. So here among the 12 minutes was this. Remember, he wants a brand new basketball practice facility. Kentucky has a new-ish football practice facility. It's more new than the basketball one.
Have you been there?
Yes, it's spectacular.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
Yes. And the reason is this is a basketball school. It's always been that, Calipari said. Alabama is a football school. So is Georgia. I mean, they are. No disrespect to our football team. I hope they win 10 games and go to bowls. At the end of the day, that makes my job easier, and it makes the job of all of us easier. But this is a basketball school, and so we need to keep moving in that direction and keep doing what we're doing. And he also said, he's talking about the facility again. Everybody should be behind this, our administration. Look, our baseball facility might be the nicest in the country, and I'm happy about that. Our football facility, we spent $200 million. Soccer, unbelievable. Now the track, I love it. So he throws that in there about football again. So Kyle tweets out this story with the "this is a basketball school" quote in the tweet. And who responds but one Mark Stoops? And he says, "Basketball school? I thought we competed in the SEC. Hashtag 4 straight postseason wins." Now, if that is not a shot at getting knocked out of the postseason by St. Peter's, I don't know what is.
Have we ever seen a few? Well, first of all, before we go into this, just if you're a publication and you have a budget and you're thinking, do we really need to send the basketball writer to the Bahamas?
Yes.
Let this be a lesson that the greatest thing can happen in the Bahamas. And I told you, Andy, I've wanted to go there for that looks like an RE vacation.
I was in the Bahamas several days ago.
I know, but I want to go to Nassau. Isn't that where that what's the place called?
Atlantis?
Atlantis, yeah. And it's a casino on an island with turquoise water, steakhouses.
Paradise
and booze.
Island is where Atlantis is. I know this because
whatever it is.
We docked in Nassau the other day. I didn't get off the boat. I just looked at Atlantis out the window.
I would have gotten off the boat and saw a few cards, but that's just me.
Well, there's cards on the boat too.
There also are cards on the boat. I've lost a lot of money on cruise ships.
We'll get to that later because it plays into a discussion we have to have about what they're serving for lunch at Alabama a little bit later on.
At sea poker tournaments really get you. Okay, but what I was going to say is, have we ever seen a feud in the history of sports or college athletics between coaches at the same place?
I was trying to think about that. Like, did Bob Knight hate the football coaches at Indiana? Like, he seems like he'd be one that would get into
somebody that would be in that. Yeah.
Like Bob Knight and Mike Leach coached together at Texas Tech for a period, and they seem to get along okay.
Because it's the most,
at least it didn't blow up.
The most, politically correct thing to do is be buddy with the other coach. So, my first take on this was?
What's that?
It's been bubbling up inside of me. Why can't people just say the truth and it not hurt someone's feelings? I mean, I know that it's rude to a certain extent because what Mark Stoops has done at Kentucky's football program has been remarkable. We've said it time and time again.
But it's not wrong.
But why is it offensive? Everybody knows. It's like the pen is blue, okay? You know what I mean? The pen is blue. So that to me is just like, we live in a world now where it's like you can't just say what the truth is without offending somebody when facts are facts. It's a fact. And the other thing I wanted to ask you, and I think I saw this on Twitter, but I also had this thought myself. I don't remember who tweeted it, but is there such thing as a basketball school? Or is because we always talk about it all the time. Football on television.
Yep. Well, that's what I wanted to get into because I think that's what the second sentence of Mark Stoops' tweet is. Basketball school, ? I thought we competed in the SEC. What I think he means there is most of the money coming into the athletic department is because of football, because they're an SEC football program.
Yeah, and I don't know what the financial breakdown is, but my first thought was, does Kentucky's football program generate more money from the SEC deal than the basketball program does? Now,
of course,
they're better than basketball, but if in this crazy world we live in, Mark Stoops creates a football dynasty at Kentucky, how many years would it take for Kentucky to be a football school?
Oh, that is a great question.
Like, if they got awesome and were just rocking shit, beating everybody, beating Alabama, and they were awesome.
There's a flip side to this. They also then have to be average at basketball. Like, they can't be winning national titles at basketball because that'll just prolong it.
But if they're winning national titles in basketball, like they always have, or competing for them, or winning national titles in this fake fairyland world, where do you think Kentucky fans just that like both would gravitate toward?
So it's interesting that you asked this because, like, I'm not sure this would happen at North Carolina or at Kansas or one of these other places, but I remember, because I covered Tennessee and I covered Florida as a beat writer, and both periods Kentucky football was not great, but those fans showed out for every game in football. They party like any other SEC fan base. They packed it out. The only time it felt like they just sort of threw up their hands was the end of the Joker Phillips era. But for the most part, they've been a very loyal football fan base. And so that particular one, if they started competing for SEC and national titles, I think would be a foot, like, you could flip it to a football school.
Because it's SEC. But it's like, you don't think that if Kansas got awesome, I just think that people would naturally gravitate towards football more because America likes football more.
Maybe, but like at North Carolina, if they got really, really good, do you think they would?
I think that if football teams were competing for national championships over a prolonged period of time, the fan interest would gravitate towards the more popular sport.
I think you're probably right. And football, because it's got a bigger stadium and it's a bigger, like each game is a bigger event. I think that makes sense.
Regular season college basketball is just dry now.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it's like. And it's so funny because,
well, I mean, Kentucky's the place where it's kind of the biggest event. Like regular season games, there's 23,000 people in Rupp Arena. It's very loud. Like it's a big event there, but it's still a third the capacity of Commonwealth Stadium.
Did you know that when I was in my mid-20s, my job was secondary Ohio State football reporter and number 1 basketball?
Oh, I did not realize.
So
that.
I have a unique perspective of this.
Cover games with a good program in an arena where the fans don't show up.
I also covered a program under Thad Matta that went to the Final Four a few times.
Yeah.
And Ohio State had Mike Conley and Greg Oden and a lot of John Diebler and all these guys, David Lighty back then. And if you wrote a story about Ohio State basketball during the Final Four that was well reported and very good, and somebody on the same staff wrote a story about the backup left guard twisting his ankle in spring ball, the backup left tackle story would trounce any sort of basketball coverage, and it's not even close.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything that you could do at a place like Ohio State or Alabama or Georgia to make those schools basketball schools. You can't go to those, like even if those teams are good. Like Alabama had a really good basketball team a few years ago, or was it this past year?
2 years ago.
It doesn't matter. Like there's nothing. How many national championships would Alabama's basketball team have to win for that fan base to gravitate towards basketball? I don't think you could ever. I don't think you could come up with a number for that. But
what do they claim? 18 or 19 in football now. That many.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, even so, like if Alabama's football program went into the dumps and ended up losing 2 games a year, for 5 years straight, and then Alabama's basketball team went to the Final Four 3 or 4 times, I don't think that in year 6 of that 5-year run that people would be like, this is a basketball school. And it's funny because Michigan had a very interesting flip side to this, because when Michigan was down and getting beaten by Ohio State, their basketball team was very good. And
John Beilein was there. Yeah.
When he was there and they made the Final Four of the national championship game, they had awesome teams. And this is a place that has the Fab Five in its history.
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody in Michigan ever thought that was a basketball school. So I don't think you can go from football to basketball, but I do think that football could hijack basketball. The problem is that all the places that, are quote unquote basketball schools have dormant football programs for the most part. Like Arizona,
Kentucky is the
Kansas,
best of these football programs.
UConn, Duke, North Carolina. Now, North Carolina and Kentucky have been pretty good, especially on the recruiting trail the last few years. But I think it's so deeply ingrained into, the identity of these fan bases that they gravitate towards basketball. But like I've always wondered, like if Arizona got really good at football,
I think if Arizona got really good at football, they would embrace football.
Yeah, because they won a national championship in the 90s or whatever year it was. I'm an Arizona alum, and I don't remember. I think it was 97, but I don't remember what year it was. That's how interested in basketball I was. But I do think that if Kentucky got awesome, there are enough fans in Lexington that are football bred that would love football more than their basketball program.
I think that one would flip sooner than any other one.
Maybe anybody in the South, not just the SEC, but just in the South in general.
They're ready to be football people. They're already good football fans. I can't stress that enough. Like Kentucky football fans are good football fans and always have been. So you give them. Let me
say this though. You should describe what Cal is describing, because if you actually know what the vision is of what he wants to build, whether he put his foot in his mouth or not, it's a tremendous idea. Yeah.
Yeah, he wants a show place. He really wants, and he wants part of it to be a museum to Kentucky basketball.
That's amazing. What an idea.
It's something that Urban Meyer said when he got to Florida, because he was frustrated that Florida didn't really have a dedicated football facility. And but when he was the coach, when he got hired, you would basically go up this back hallway, this back stairwell to the coach's offices, and that's it. There was nothing, no museum, no glass cases or anything. So he had them build what they call their front door to the facility, which I think all of that stuff is going to move into Florida's new football facility when it opens here very soon. But what Cal is suggesting is a Kentucky basketball museum because a lot of that stuff is just kind of stored in old Memorial Gymnasium. Like it's basically in
like you can
storage.
open up and design it in a way where it's open to the public.
Right. At least a piece of it. And then
a piece of it, yeah, where the trophies are, you can put a security guard in there or whatever. But the front of the Woody Hayes Center at Ohio State is like this shrine of Heisman's and national title trophies. But it's like you put old jerseys in there, game used jerseys, frame them. I mean, like most football buildings in America are just shrines to their program.
Yes. Oh, Michigan State's is beautiful. They've got all kinds of cool stuff hanging in there. Tennessee's is unbelievable.
They even charge people $5 to walk through there. I bet you people would pay for
it. Hey, listen, some of these athletic departments want a revenue stream for sure. Alabama, you can walk in and see the trophies, and it's pretty crazy. I don't. The thing about Calipari is saying, "Hey, I can raise this money in a heartbeat." I think if he can raise it, it's not going to be a problem. You know, they're gonna go. I mean,
if he can raise it in a heartbeat, I don't know why he said what he said.
That's true. I don't know that he's saying this.
Sometimes I do wonder, like, why people get so offensive. And the funniest thing about this, Andy, and we have to acknowledge it, is Mark Stoops needs to just embrace that. Like, that's what makes your job incredible.
That pressure.
Yes.
Thank you for
let him have it.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
It's like you don't want to blow up your own bag, your own spot. Kind of bask in the sun, and those accomplishments are those accomplishments. But it's like, do you think that what he said at the end of that tweet was a shot at them losing to St. Peter's?
I think so. I mean, Kentucky football's last game was a win against Penn State.
Yeah.
Kentucky basketball's last game was a loss to St. Peter's.
Yeah, but I also think that, like, if he just means postseason wins, that's kind of proving Cal's point a little bit.
But here's the other thing. If Mark Stoops had Nick Saban's job and had the same records that he's
at a quote unquote football school,
he'd have been fired.
Right.
And so that's what Calipari's dealing with. And who has more job security at Kentucky, Mark Stoops or John Calipari? I would argue it's Mark Stoops right now.
I think that it is Mark Stoops.
Yeah,
I don't even know that it's close. Mark Stoops can stay
I said
there
Penn
for the
State.
rest
I meant Iowa. They beat Iowa in the bowl game last year.
Oh, Iowa, yeah.
In a clash of very similar styles.
And they've got one of the most exciting, electrifying quarterbacks in the land.
Yes.
I don't know. I think that on one hand, I think it's stupid that Cal said that, because what's the point of that? You work there. It didn't help make your point anymore. Unless he was saying that they spent too much money on the other things when it should have been going towards basketball. But even then, fundraisers and stuff, you find the way to make both.
So Nishant in our comments says, could this be a play for more NIL money or money from boosters? I think that's what this is. This is Cal talking through Kyle Tucker, getting this message out here, saying just what Ari just said. I need this money. I can raise it from some people, but I can't raise it all right now. So I need some people to help out.
Yeah. So on one hand, I don't know why he said it, or I guess if you think that's the case, then it makes sense that he said it that way. But on the other hand, I think it's kind of not smart for Mark Stoops to react the way that he did, because A, it's the truth.
Right.
And B, you're just chilling right now. And I know that he's got a very hard job, and it's not easy to do what he did. I've got all the respect in the world for Mark Stoops. We've said it 1,000 times. I'll say it for 1,001. That said, don't fly too close to the sun.
Well, but I think Mark Stoops would like to fly close to the sun, and I understand that these guys are competitive. I told you about. I ran into him in Las Vegas at the National Football Foundation stuff, and we were joking around about us calling Kentucky the best job in the country. And he mentioned he doesn't like that. He doesn't like, because of the connotation that he doesn't have to win like everybody else has to win, or that it's not as hard as everybody else's job. And I kind of agree. I understand where he's coming from, because to do what he's done at Kentucky, the difficulty level is incredibly high. Not many people could do it.
Yeah. This is an interesting question from the chat, Andy. Yes. Nick Terry says, I've wanted to ask you this question. When the playoff expands, Stoops will be expected to make it at least once every 4 years or so. What do you think that's true?
I don't think every 4 years, but I do think, well, listen, if it's a 12-team playoff, these 10-win Kentucky teams, they got a shot, right?
Yeah, he says that if it becomes the expectation, then he thinks he loses the best coaching job in America title.
Would he just give it to Jeff Brom at that point?
Yeah, Jeff Brom's got a pretty sweet gig too. But actually, on Stars Matter, Mitch had a trivia question.
Okay.
And he said, for the years between 2013 and 17, that 5-year period to the 5-year period since the 2017 class, which program in America has raised its recruiting results most? Like, who has improved their final ranking the most on average?
Purdue?
And it's Purdue.
Interesting.
And he made me guess that. I couldn't have come up with that in a million years. So that, to me, I think is worth contextualizing a little bit about what he's done, because I've always been like, it's either a disaster or it's awesome there, but it's like, actually, maybe the foundation of the program is stronger with him there. And if I would have known that stat, I think maybe
now
my thoughts
I would argue that the quality of player that Kentucky goes after and lands has risen considerably.
Oh, sure. There's no
in those
question.
Years too.
And they've done a good job in Kentucky, and they've done a great job in Ohio. I mean, they to me, Kentucky is built like a program that would be the second best program in a lot of years in the Big Ten. They recruit the same territories. They're in Ohio like it's a home state. They've done better than Louisville in the state of Kentucky. I know Louisville's out there getting those California talents, however they're doing it, but they're doing it. But Kentucky is what it is. Now, if Kentucky's threshold for expectations ever increases, which what you would expect if you were a football school, then I think our perception of what his job is right now and how cushy and great it is would shift. Because part of the reason why we think that it's such a great job is because there aren't very high expectations. It's like anything that you do over 8 wins is a considerable, win for that program. And if it ever gets to the point where they have to win 9 or 10, then it becomes more difficult. And to sustain that, I think is really hard there. So it's kind of like, be careful what you wish for in terms of the profile and the expectations that you have at your program.
Yeah. So I looked, Kentucky last year would have been was number 22 in the final CFP rankings. They weren't really in it. Although maybe they could have gotten there if things bounce a little bit differently. But yeah, I think they could make it with a 12-team playoff, especially if there's a 16-team playoff.
Yeah,
I think there's a chance they could make it.
And obviously, the further down you go with the
every
expansion,
8-9 years, right?
The further you go down with the expansion, the higher the expectations are of making it, because it's not as exclusive. So if you go to 16 or whatever, then making it more often than 12, I think is, because I mean, honestly, Andy, we talk about how there's a big gap in the college football playoff between 4 and 8, and then 8 and 12. It's a huge gap. Once you get out of the top 12 and you start getting into 14, 15, 16, like the threshold for how good you have to be to make the playoff as the 16th best team in the country is very, very low. So
yeah,
I think there are multiple Kentucky programs that would have breezed into the playoff if it was a 16-team playoff. And you know what I love about this live chat comments here is that we got people doing research for us on the fly.
I love it.
I'm going to attribute this to Kevin Wise, who's in our chat right now. And if you aren't in our chat and you aren't watching this live on YouTube, just know that this is a great option. We want this YouTube channel to grow, and we love kind of having you guys interact with us because we are looking and reading at your comments as we go here. Kevin Wise, according to what I could find, 2020 men's basketball gross revenue was $29 million and football was $44 million.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what they send into the Department of Education. And now, look, you're selling 65,000 seats 7 times a year. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, and you got the popcorn going.
Yeah, and then if you bring in what football television, like football television, it's generally accepted as about 85 to 90% of a media rights deal for a conference.
Of course.
So now
that's the whole thing. What are people wanting to watch?
Now, what you get from the NCAA tournament, that is also a television thing too, and that's actually the shares the SEC gets that it then splits among the schools. Mm-hmm. That is a decent amount of money, but yeah, it is interesting because I do think Stoops would be expected to do it maybe once to get to the playoff, but I don't think he'd have to. If Kentucky... They were number 14 in the final CFP ranking in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So they would have been in the mix.
If Kentucky ever gets that good, then Mark Stoops will be off to a blue blood. So I guess the discussion that we're talking about, though, is that and then Byron Alice responds, if Kentucky gets that good, he will be at a blue blood.
Yeah.
So I guess what the scenario that I laid out, which is if they become awesome and start beating Alabama and competing for national titles, then, I guess you theoretically are in a place that you wouldn't want to leave. But if they won one national title, why would he ever leave? He would be he would be the god of all gods there, and he will have reached the mountaintop that most coaches leave smaller schools or less football school-ish places to accomplish. Isn't that the number one thing? Like, why would Mark Stoops leave? It's the discussion we had about him months ago. The only reason why that human being would ever leave Kentucky is because he has an insatiable desire to try to win a national championship. It's not money.
Exactly right.
He's got a huge buyout. Yeah. He's got job security. He has great facilities.
If LSU had offered him the job, I think he would have taken it.
But you could also make the case that Brian Kelly did it, and he was at Notre Dame. The same exact reason.
Right. I'm with you. So this is an interesting.
I don't know if you want to do that. Why would you want to do that? Is it just are you just a loser if you just say, "Hey, no thanks, I don't feel like being in that environment"?
No. It just depends on the person you are. If you are comfortable in your own skin and you feel like, hey, I can be successful here, I can live a satisfying life, I can feel like this is a satisfying career, making a buttload of money, winning games here, not feeling like I have to win 12 games every year.
Not feeling like you're going to keel over every night before bed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Then yeah, that's fine. I don't think most of these guys are wired that way, though. I don't think you get to be the head coach even at a place like Kentucky unless you are wired to want to be a national champion.
Is Dave Clawson wired that way?
I don't think I think he's one of the unusual guys. I think he might leave Wake Forest, but it wouldn't be for like an Alabama. It would be for a Northwestern or something like that.
Yeah. So it's possible that Mark Stoops is wired like Dave Clawson, but Mark Stoops
is. I think
I don't think he is too.
I think he would go for the place. Now, here's an interesting question. Actually, I will ask you an interesting question on the other side, because first we have to talk about something. And you and I gotta get you into this app. I gotta get you on the Peloton app with me. I was thinking about you today. I was doing a run. Olivia Motto was taking me through a rock run. It was tremendous. She had a couple really hard pushes at the end, but the last song was Song 2 by Blur. Woohoo, do. And I'm booking. I'm like, Ari needs to be right here doing this with me, or at home on his treadmill doing it. But Peloton, more than just bikes and treadmills, it is a sense of community. Like I want you doing like these workouts so that I can then call you and be like, did you do that? Did you do that Marcel Dinkins workout today? Oh my God, that was so hard. Like there's a power in that because it feels like you're doing it with somebody and it feels like you are, you're challenging yourself, but sometimes you're willing to push a little harder knowing that somebody else is doing it. So, and I love that about Peloton because you can just look on the leaderboard and see all the other people who are doing it. You can see how many times they're doing it. The instructors will be shouting out how many classes they've done, when they're hitting milestones like their 300th run or their 1,000th boot camp class. It's just really cool. And so you can fit it anywhere into your life. You can do it anywhere. They've always got the treadmill. They've got the bike, but you can be a digital member on the app. I have been for about 2.5 years, and you can take those workouts anywhere. So go to onepeloton.com, check it out. There's deals on a bike or a tread if you're a new member. And I'm gonna get Ari on board. I'm gonna get him going. It's gonna be a blast. We're gonna have like 12 packs, just like your wife's trainer does.
Yeah, and my trainer on Friday morning.
Heck yeah!
Let's do it. Just think about this when you're listening to this podcast. If you're not here live with us, I'll be keeled over in a gym somewhere, vomiting into a tin can. So I'm looking forward to it. But yes, though, Peloton and competing with you in that realm seems like it would drive me because I would want to beat you at something.
I think you can work your way up there. I have no doubt. I have no doubt. All right, let's talk about this Mark Stoops situation a little more, because I realize we talk about him a lot, but almost as an avatar for the idea of there's a level of job now in the SEC and the Big Ten because of the money. And the Big Ten, it's about to get even more. There's a level of job that it's become so attractive. And I do wonder if you're in the Big 12, if you're in the Pac-12, how much are you going to, you asked me this question a few weeks ago and you said Florida State or Purdue, which job do you want? And my immediate response was Purdue because the expectations are lower than Florida State, but the pay could be considerably higher very soon.
So maybe you are Dave Clawson.
Maybe I am.
I think normal people are.
But also, are there any other jobs that will enter that realm, like as this giant money comes flowing into the SEC and the Big Ten? Like, does the Illinois job, does the Michigan, the Mississippi State job, like, do those jobs become
I feel like
superior?
There's more candidates in the Big Ten for jobs like that than there are in the SEC, because most of the programs in the SEC are probably top 10% jobs.
Well, I also feel like there's a certain type of coach who does not want to recruit in the SEC. Like that lifestyle does not appeal to
I don't think I would want to.
Yeah, because I mean, we talked about Mark Stoops and the difference between the Kentucky job and the LSU job, but I'm not sure in the recruiting realm it's all that different. I think it's probably as stressful, even though you may not be in on the same players.
If you go look at what Kentucky's done in the recruiting realm, and I know they've been in Mississippi and in Florida and they've gone into the South, but they are running head to head against Big Ten teams more than the SEC teams, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
And that could be slowly changing, but just because you're in the SEC doesn't mean you have to recruit the SEC territories. If you were closer to fertile Midwestern grounds.
Yeah, I mean, his brilliance of what he does is like he went in there, got that job, and started going into Ohio and saying, listen, Ohio State didn't offer you. So instead of going to Wisconsin or Penn State or Michigan State or one of those schools, come to Kentucky, which is the same distance drive from your house, and play in the SEC.
Yeah, I went to Lexington and wrote a story, and the headline was Big Ten Killer, because for a while Kentucky was getting all the players that should have been going to the Michigan States. And sorry, guys, this was before Mel Tucker. Okay, hands up.
Tuck coming, baby. Tuck coming.
Yeah. But should have been going to Michigan State at the time, and Michigan and Illinois and all these teams that for every really good team or player like Lynn Bowden who went to Kentucky. It's like he could have found a spot somewhere in the Big Ten and been awesome in the Big Ten and just one less great player in the conference. But yes, I think that the entire plan was good and sound, and they're from Youngstown. Like it's funny. The lead of the story of the Big Ten Killer, I painted a picture of Vince Marrow, the recruiting coordinator, sitting at his desk.
Who tonight he's sitting in the sports bar watching Kentucky basketball. I just saw a photo.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's cursing Cal under his breath or not.
And every single time Ohio State takes a commitment from California or Florida or Texas, he goes like this. He does the fist pump. Because it's like one more on their board. It's one more that they can't take in Ohio. Yep. And it's a really, and you know what? Ohio State's a very good program. They miss guys on Ohio sometimes. They misevaluate guys. And sometimes they don't take very good players that should be going to Ohio State because they're too big on their national brand. So it's not because Kentucky's just taking the leftovers. There's a lot of really good
players.
Yes.
And also somebody who's on the cusp that, like an Ohio State or an Alabama is, okay, maybe we're offering this guy or maybe we're not. Sometimes that person develops a little differently and they wind up being the player that everybody thought they could have been.
And if Ohio State's like, should we offer you? Kentucky's like, we did.
Yep. Exactly. And that's how you do it. Now, they also have just beat the bushes. That's how they got like Josh Allen. I don't think they have to do that as much anymore. But I'm curious if other jobs are now like, okay, here's a thought. I was because I know what I've said about this job, but I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm right. So my assumption is that Michigan State giving Mel Tucker this contract, $95 million guaranteed, says you bet that says to him, we're paying you to win the national title. And I believe that. The thing is, the Michigan State fans and administration believe that. Like if he's If he's given them 9-10 win seasons regularly, are they going to be okay with that? They might be.
Do Michigan State fans actually wholeheartedly believe that they will win a national title in the next 10 years? Is that the question?
No, it's not. Well, maybe that is the question.
I think the answer to that question.
Are they going to fire Mel Tucker if he doesn't win the Big Ten within 5 years? Or are they going to? Will he be on the hot seat if he doesn't win the Big Ten within 5 years?
I think that if Michigan State is able to create one season like they created when Mark D'Antonio had it running in the next 10 years, that
so
would
the
be
2013 season, basically,
or the 15 season.
Either one. Okay.
Yes, or if they do it twice in 10 years, I think that would be more than sufficient. And I get in trouble on this podcast when we talk about Michigan State. Okay, and I want to soften it, but I've tried my best to articulate without being disrespectful how big of a freaking gap there is between what they're trying to do right now and who is doing it.
Right. And we had the argument before.
Yes.
They are trying to do what Clemson did. And
maybe they'll succeed. Okay.
Right. Only Clemson has been able to do that in 20 years. Only Clemson.
And I'm sorry that I dismissed it, because you should always encourage people to try. That said, since we've had the podcast, I think they're kind of trying to see now a little bit how hard it is to do it on a national scale right away. Now, will it get better incrementally? Sure. Is their class improved? Sure. Will it continue to improve? I think that's the plan. But 10 years is a long time, but 10 years is not that long of a time to go from pretty good program who is getting 3 or 4 top 100 players to Alabama. Like that is, and you have to be Alabama if you want to win a national championship right now, because you either got to beat them or you got to beat a team that beat them. So like they have a long way to go before we're in that discussion point. But they are paying Mel Tucker, and Mel Tucker is approaching the job the same way that a national championship coach would do it. And he's trying to raise the profile. They're doing something new. And if I was bad at articulating that a month ago, I would like to extend an olive branch to Michigan State fans and say, I respect the hell out of him trying.
Yeah.
Because if he can't do it, then who's going to do it?
Well, but here's the thing. Does that become the best job in America because you're making almost $10 million a year and they don't expect you to win the national title?
Yes, but beating Ohio State and winning the Big Ten is still part of the deal too.
It's still part of the deal. Okay.
So like that to me is like,
which they did not long ago. Like
they have been more successful in beating Ohio State than any other team in the Big Ten.
Correct. Like it has not been that long since they had 13 and 15 where they beat them head to head, and they. I mean,
that team beat Ohio State's best, most talented team and went to the playoff.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I don't know what more you could ask at Michigan State.
Yeah, I think this is going to be really interesting.
But I'm with you on that, because I think you're trying to find. Now, let me ask you this one. Now, this might piss some people off, but hey, it's a podcast. We're here to entertain. We're just talking here. Just us girls here talking. Is Penn State a better job than Michigan State?
Ooh.
Like, because Penn State plays in the same division too.
Mm-hmm. But at Penn State, historically, you've been able to get the best players in Pennsylvania. You can go up to New Jersey and get players. You can get players from the DMV. They are conditioned to look at Penn State naturally. Which place has more pressure for the coach? Penn State.
Penn State has to play Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
But Michigan State has to play Ohio State and Michigan. That's 2.
Penn State also has to play Michigan.
I know, but if they lose to Michigan, and I know they don't like each other, but it's not the same thing.
Well, when divisions go away, it's going to be really interesting to see how that works.
Scheduling will be different, but I think if like Penn State goes 10-2 and loses to Ohio State by 10 and goes to the Fiesta Bowl or something, that is a very successful season for Penn State.
I don't know. I think they're very similar in terms of their expectations.
I mean, the coaches have nearly identical contracts, don't they?
They do. And I think, okay, let's just piss off everybody in the Big Ten, not Ohio State. Let's rope Michigan into this. Rank these in terms of expectations. Like, you, coach, had better win some Big Ten titles.
Penn State, Michigan.
Go
Michigan
ahead. State, Penn State, or Michigan. 1, 2, 3. Rank them.
In terms of what the fans expect, or which one would be
better
the
win
hardest?
Some Big Ten titles. Yes, highest expectations to lowest.
Oh God! I mean, historically, it's Michigan,
right?
But Michigan's been beaten down so much that I think winning, man.
And they just won it too. But
that's a really hard question, man. I don't know.
I think you agree with me. I think you'd put Michigan 3 here.
What I would do is I would put Michigan 3rd on the list of most desirable jobs. If they're like, Ari, you can go be the head coach at Penn State, Michigan State, and Michigan and get paid the same amount of money, where would you want to coach? I think Michigan would be my 3rd because I don't want to be judged every single year by how I do against Ohio State. Penn State and Michigan State can lose to Ohio State and have a good year.
Broader set of criteria.
Yes. So to me, like that, the Ohio State cloud hanging over their head would just be awful. I would not want to do that. And you have to take into account too, and Byron Alice in the chat here said the gap between Ohio State and the rest of the Big Ten is really wide. It's like, to put it in perspective, I think Ohio State has signed more top 100 players at receiver in the last 5 years than the rest of the Big Ten combined, or some weird stat like that. And it's just in one of their position rooms. Like, the amount of talent in Ohio State's roster is so superior to everybody else. I wouldn't want to be compared to them. I'd want to be the year that I actually do it, clip them, as he said, would be the best year in the world, but I wouldn't want my fans to feel like the season sucked if I didn't beat them. That would be a miserable existence to me. Like Harbaugh, I understand why he'd want to go to the NFL.
I do too. I actually answered a mailbag question about this week, because the person asked me over under 2.5 years, how much longer is Harbaugh at Michigan? And then asked the second question of, does he leave for another job? Does he get fired? Does he quit and become a dairy farmer?
What were your answers?
Like, the dairy farmer seemed like one of the more logical options, because I think the way his contract works now, I think unless he can do this again, I think his NFL window is closed. And the way his contract works, he ain't getting fired. That thing's fully guaranteed.
Yeah. It's funny that we were talking about Stoops earlier, but the natural temperament of a person like me or you, not that we're not competitive. We want this to be the best college football podcast out there. We want to be as successful as possible and reach as many people as we can. But I'm actually working on a story right now about Eddie George. I sat with Eddie George in his office last week in Nashville at Tennessee State, and I asked him point blank, like, why would you want to do this?
We had him on the show last year when he took the job.
And it's just like, why would you want to do this? It's because normal people want to work really, really hard and kind of ride off into the sunset and be a dairy farmer or lay on a yacht or whatever their personal slice of heaven looks like. These people, these coaches, are obsessed with raising their profile and continuing to be successful and to winning. So, I don't know what your take is on Harbaugh. Like, I don't know what he's fixated on. He's a very interesting guy. How did you answer it?
And he's honest too. That's the other thing. He's not hiding anything. I think he really would like to go back to the NFL, but that's not an option right now. So he's at Michigan, and he's got to replace 2 coordinators. And, Jesse Mentor seems like he's going to run the same defense that Mike McDonald ran, so that, you are plugging and playing there. We will see. If you ask Michigan people, they'll be like, well, Weiss and Sharon Moore were really running the offense at the end of last year. It wasn't so much Gaddis. We're going to find out, because Gaddis is gone and those guys are running the offense now. So we'll see.
But this is a good point too from Byron that we have to talk about. Michigan State is trying to build something, and they saw a coach that had a really good first year, and they didn't want to lose him, right?
Yep.
Penn State gave Franklin the contract after 2 bad years, and 2 recruiting classes ago was one of the worst recruiting classes I've ever seen in my entire life.
They also didn't want to lose him, though.
But why? Half the fan bases didn't care. Get John Hayes on the show. He'll tell you.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people. I feel like a lot of the people were kind of like, I'm ready for a change. I want to try something new. So like from that standpoint, like and maybe it's just different art, like arches in like the paths of those programs, because Penn State, you know, has been good recently, and Michigan State has had a few rough years, you know, heading into these two coaches' contract extensions. But I don't know, man. I think that as time kind of wears you down a little bit and things change and perceptions change, like the expectations at Michigan State, if you just saw how the way those people acted when I got on this podcast, I think are kind of like in overdrive mode. We're hungry, we're going to do it mode, tuck coming mode. And Penn State's kind of just like, can we get to 10 wins again?
We will see, Ari. But we got to pause for a second. When we come back, though, we're going to have the greatest recruiting video that has ever been posted on the internet. That had Ari texting me in all caps. And it's tremendous. I'm just going to leave it at that. You'll see it and hear it when we come back. But first, I got to talk to you about Sling. Again, it's college football season, which means you need Sling TV, where you can watch unbeatable college football coverage starting at $35 a month. You get everything you love about college football, like rivalries, marching bands, bowl games, conference power ranks, all of it with Sling. Plus, Sling has all the big games on all the biggest channels like ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN3, SEC Network, ACC Network, Fox, and the Big Ten Network, all for the best price, like starting at $35 a month. The best part is getting Sling is easy. It's easy to set up, even easier to use. You can stream it to any device, record up to 50 hours with your included DVR space, and you won't get locked into a long-term contract. So if you're looking for the perfect place to spend your college football Saturdays, you need to take a look at Sling, where you can get everything you love about college football for the best price. Check out sling.com for special offers. Sling, the live TV you love for a price you'll love. Try it today. I also want to talk to you about a really fun new sponsor called Run Your Pool. We're going to be doing a Run Your Pool here at the Andy Staples Show and Friends feed, and we're all going to be involved. So you heard Nicole the other day. She'll be there. Ari will be there. I'll be there. Max Olson, Sam Kahn, all the folks that talk on this feed will be picking games, and you're going to get to pick against us. So you go to play.runyourpool.com/staples. You sign up, and you get into our pool. And once the season starts, we'll be doing a pick 'em. We'll be picking games against the spread. You can show us that you're better than us, which, you know, being better than me is not a very high bar at this point. But you will also be able to have a lot of fun at Run Your Pool. You can start your own pool with all your friends. You can talk trash. You could do college football, the NFL. They have survivor pools, pick 'em pools, you name it. It's a lot of fun. We are going to have a blast this football season. I cannot wait to see how well you guys do at picking games, because you already know how I do picking games. I'm ready to see how you do. So go to play.runyourpool.com/staples and sign up for our pool today. Ari, we're back. We have got to talk about this video that Alabama put out. This is the greatest recruiting video ever made. I argue that Alabama had the greatest recruiting graphic ever, and that was, I think it was 2015 or 2016.
Was it all the
when
money?
It was a picture of the 2011 offense, I believe, or maybe the 2012 offense, and had what NFL team everybody played on, because they were all still in the NFL. And then they did it the next day with the defense from that season. And it was like 3 years out, and they were all still in the NFL.
Yeah.
And it was insane. But what they put out on Thursday was even better. For those listening, you're going to get a little bit of talking, and then there's going to be some music. But don't worry, I will walk you through it when we come back. So here is the video. If you're watching on YouTube, you're going to see something beautiful.
Y'all see we got a dinosaur killing. Ain't nobody else doing it. We the only team that eats dinosaurs.
They're eating dinosaur, he says, because they're eating tomahawk ribeyes for lunch. Not only are they eating tomahawk ribeyes, they also have a chocolate fountain, just like the one at Golden Corral. So basically, Alabama football is if Golden Corral served tomahawk ribeyes. That is what the life of an Alabama football player is. That is lunch for an Alabama football player. Ari.
I think you're selling them short by the Golden Corral thing. Let's go hometown buffet.
But Golden Corral actually has the chocolate fountain.
Yeah, they do. Golden Corral.
These are tomahawk ribeyes, like 3-pound tomahawk ribeyes.
You know what I love the most about that video?
What's that? It's Salt Bay? One of the chefs is doing the Salt Bay thing?
The music, whenever I hear that music, I just think of like Rose from the Titanic walking down in a gown and all the people in tuxedos down there, like in the first class dining area. And that's like what they're getting, like a first class ribeye getting, a tomahawk ribeye getting chopped off the bone there. And like, I was just going to ask you this, Mr. Lifting Weights 6-pack. Is steak an acceptable healthy lunch?
Yeah. Now, probably not the ribeye. It's pretty fatty. But if you went sirloin or filet, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty lean.
I mean, these guys are probably burning 2,000 calories a workout, though, too. So
these guys are burning so many calories between their workouts and they're practicing right now. They are absolutely not concerned. Now, well, they also have dietitians that are concerned with every calorie they consume.
And everything they put in their little tin boxes there has been measured out perfectly to what they should be eating that day.
Exactly. So I think you got to, you have to probably be in a certain place if you want to hit the chocolate fountain. But
you're the kind of guy that would you put your hand in the chocolate fountain and then like your index finger?
I put my whole mouth on the chocolate fountain. I just dunk my head in there.
Is fondue the right way to say that? Is that what that is? Or is fondue something different?
Fondue is like boiling chocolate. Fondue is, when you do the fondue dinner, like if you took your prom date to the melting pot, there would be a cheese course where they'd have like the Emmentaler and some other kind of cheese with the Kirschwasser brandy, and then you dunk the bread in the boiling cheese, and then they take that away and they bring out oil, and then you cook the meats in the oil, which you realize you're paying them for you to do all the work, but whatever.
I've never been to the melting pot.
It's a tremendous prom night experience.
Where did you? Is that where you went on your prom night?
No, we didn't go to the melting pot. They actually served a dinner at my prom, so I think
there was no pre-prom dinner for you?
Actually, no. I think we went to like a Japanese steakhouse. I can't even remember, but
we went to Mastro's.
Well, Lottie frickin' da. There was not a Mastro's in Longwood, Florida. So
I remember that was like we were planning that for months.
Now I guess there were nice steakhouses in other parts of Orlando that we could have driven to.
Yeah.
But at that point in my life, I didn't know those places even existed. So
yeah.
But your third course at a fondue dinner type place is they put the pot of chocolate out and they put it on a flame under it.
Okay, so everything is just melted and you dip stuff.
Yeah, so the chocolate fountain is melted chocolate, but it is at a more reasonable temperature. So I could dunk my head in there and not die.
Yeah. Well, if that's the way you were going to go, then that'd be fine too.
Yeah. It'd be like in Goldfinger when the guys get covered in gold, and he got covered in chocolate shell like a Dairy Queen ice cream cone.
Like the on like Instagram when people like flex but try to make it seem like they're not trying to flex. Like if
I wouldn't know anything about that, Ari.
Oh yeah, I guess you're like first place.
It's
like,
just
hey,
my dog. My dog is trying to tug at my bathing suit.
Check out my dog. Oh, by the way, my abs are beaming through the front. But like even with like money and like possessions and stuff, it's like, hey, check this thing out, and then in the background there's a $3,000 purse. Like that's what all these recruiting videos are. Like they're not even like, they're just trying to be like, look how awesome we have it, and the only reason they exist is to impress impressionable teenagers who may come across that video.
Well, I will tell you, a 16-year-old Andy seeing those steaks in that chocolate fountain.
I mean, they look great too. That's the thing.
If
anybody can make a tomahawk.
If I'm good enough to play at Alabama, once I see that video, my recruitment is over.
How many days in a row do you think you could have a tomahawk steak for lunch?
I mean, I'd try to do it every day if I could. I don't think I exercise enough to pull that off, but
yeah, I don't know if you know this about me, but my cousin Kyle played at Ohio U as a punter.
Oh.
And we were actually talking about this because this morning I was coming back from a workout and I was like exhausted because I just like when I'm done with them, I'm like ready to keel over. And I just said, how do you do, like, when you were at Ohio, like, how did you, because the punter had to go through the workouts too.
Oh yeah.
You got to wake up at 5 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
and you've got the weightlifting for 2.5 hours. You live this.
I remember it.
I don't know how a human being, and then you got school all day, then you've got film, and then you go do your homework, and then you work out again, and then you go to bed at 8 o'clock, and you got to be up again at 4 every
It's
single
a lot of work.
day.
It's a lot of
Every
work
single
and it
day
requires discipline.
It's relentless.
Well, there are weekends, but yes.
Yeah, but I don't know. It just like that would be, I don't even know. Like and when it gets dark at 7 p.m., it's just like you finally go to bed and you get that 20 minutes to yourself in bed, just dreading falling asleep because it's going to feel like you've been asleep for 25 minutes when your alarm goes off and you got to do the whole thing all over again. But he also said that he would drink Mountain Dew by the 2-liter bottles and like eat Taco Bell.
I did that too.
Yeah.
Like when I worked for the school newspaper, this is I'm not playing football anymore, which is probably why this was incredibly stupid because I could have burned it playing football. But yeah, I would take a 2-liter Mountain Dew and I would eat it. I would drink it like it was a can.
Because it's like you're working out so much, you literally could eat anything. And that was back in the days.
I couldn't gain weight playing football. I could not gain. I ate like I would order a pizza at midnight and eat it after eating all day.
Yeah, I was talking to an offensive lineman a while back who was trying to gain weight because they have to gain weight, some of them.
Yeah.
And he said like between the workouts and everything, he would have to like eat a jar of peanut butter with a spoon before bed.
Yeah, and a lot of those guys, like the NFL guys, actually just set alarms and they have shakes and they have more prepared stuff because they're so used to it and they haven't measured out. But
I could not imagine a world where they're like, Ari, you've got a month. You have to gain 20 pounds. Like how great that would be.
Well, the crazy one is like the water polo guys, like the U.S. water polo team. I think they have to eat something to the tune of 10,000 calories a day when they're training.
So you could eat
to maintain their weight.
In a breeze. There's probably 2,000 calories in an entire 2-liter bottle, or like how many calories are in a 2-liter?
Yeah, but you're not supposed to consume those calories.
Oh, well, if you're
supposed to consume decent calories. At 10,000 decent calories.
Yeah, wasn't Michael Phelps's diet like 15,000 calories of like steak a day and stuff?
Yeah. And so 10,000 calories or 15,000 calories of decent calories is an enormous amount of food. Like,
yeah,
there would be no joy in eating anymore at that point.
That's true. Yeah, I always just thought, well, if you have to gain weight, eat an entire jar of peanut butter with a spoon and then wash it down with Coke, cherry Coke on draft, and then go to sleep into a carb coma.
Well, the peanut butter wouldn't be as bad as the Coke, but yeah, I mean, ideally, what you'd be doing is eating grilled chicken and lettuce and maybe sweet potatoes, something like that. It's a little bit of a slower burn carb. But can you imagine just the piles of that you would have to eat to put on or to keep that burn on? I mean, I remember because I didn't have anybody telling me what to eat. So I was eating junk. But I was eating a lot of junk.
Back in the day before they had the nutrition.
Yeah, there was nobody, there was no dietitian or anything. And I would just go load up at the buffet over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It didn't
Nick
matter.
Terry just asked, how many Filet-O-Fishes would you need to eat to gain 20 pounds? And that's a funny thing, but like, guess how many calories are in a Filet-O-Fish sandwich?
800.
Oh, it's like 379. It's not a very big sandwich.
I was going to say, even with the tartar sauce and everything?
Yeah. Okay, so 379 is a good number because it's 3,500 calories per pound, right?
Yeah.
So if it's 3,500 calories per pound, you would need to eat 200 Filet-O-Fish sandwiches to gain 20 pounds. That's of excess.
Oh, right? Excess. Yeah.
Yeah, excess.
In excess of what you would normally take in for
like
the day.
In excess of like you have your 2,000 calorie baseline of what you should be eating that day. Yeah. And then on top of it, you would have to eat 200 Filet-O-Fishes. Now, if I had a month to do it, that would be 200 divided by 30 is 6.6 Filet-O-Fish sandwiches per day.
On top of what you
on
normally
top of a normal eat. But if you have a normal eating day, 2,000 calories, you could get hungry by midnight, by 11, by 10.
and you
I
just
could
knock
smash
out 6 filet of fishes.
I think that I honestly could hit 2 Filet-O-Fishes in the morning.
You're talking about the sloppiest weight you could possibly put on.
2 Filet-O-Fishes in the morning. Lunch, 2 Filet-O-Fishes around 2:30 after lunch. Dinner, and then 2 Filet-O-Fishes or 3 Filet-O-Fishes at night at 10 o'clock.
Dude, this guy in his 12-pack, they're going to kill you tomorrow. For even thinking this, they're going to kill you.
I didn't think it. Nick Terry thought it. I just went up and I did the math.
Well, listen.
That'd be a delicious way to...
We're taking you the other way. We're taking... So the Golden Corral thing's on my mind when I saw the chocolate fountain in the Alabama video, because we were on a cruise last week, and I hadn't been on a cruise since college. And just the sheer amount of food and alcohol is mind-boggling. Like,
did you just go crazy on the boat?
So that picture you saw of me with a drink, I had been on the boat for about an hour. That was my 4th drink.
Yeah.
I had the deluxe drink package. So
because you were having a bunch of sugar drinks. Is there sugar in that? A bunch of sugar in that?
In that one, but trust me, there were some really good Manhattans consumed. There were some good old fashions, decent margaritas. So it wasn't all.
Yeah, when I went on a cruise with my family, you would just like walk around the boat and there would just be a pizza by the slice place.
There is that.
You just grab the pizza by the slice. There's no transaction. You just grab it, and then over there's the burger place, and then over there's the fry place. And
but one of our friends who was with us goes, "This is a floating Golden Corral." That's what this is.
Yes. Yeah.
It's tremendous. With a full bar.
And actually the food was better than Golden Corral. Here's my thing with Golden Corral. If you walk into a Golden Corral, and I haven't done this in 5 or 7 years, I've
been to one in the last 2 years. Well, right
you must
before
have
the
been
pandemic.
really hungry.
So
what happens is you walk in and you're starving, because nobody goes to Golden Corral when they're not starving, right?
That's true.
So you walk into Golden Corral and you're starving, and you look around. They've got steak over here. They've got tremendous rolls there, by the way.
The rolls are great.
But the steak
the steak every night is when it really changed the game. Because I remember back in the day when Ryan's Steakhouse would do the all-you-can-eat steak on Wednesday nights for like $12.99. It was tremendous. And then Golden Corral is like, okay, fine, we'll do all-you-can-eat steak too, but we're gonna do it every night. That's when it all changed.
I've just never been a low-quality steak person in restaurants. So, like, even when I go to Golden Corral, when you go to places like that, they exist to carb load and to smash food. I'm talking taters. I'm talking. See,
I can go to Golden Corral and not eat a single carb.
Yeah, I don't.
See, I'll
you like eating that rubbery excuse for a steak they put out there?
That sirloin, sure, I'll take it. Don't be a snob, Ari.
I'm not being a snob. It's just not.
Mr. Filet of fish, Domino's cheesy
That's exactly
bread,
the reason why you know I'm not a snob.
It's not enough for you.
I'm not a snob. That's how you just proved that I'm not. I'm just saying it. I just don't enjoy that. So
I do. I like top sirloin. You cook it rare or medium rare, it's good.
Yeah.
So you go you go green beans, you go some carrots, you go some salad, and you just keep going back.
Yeah, when I go to places like that, I'm in there to do damage and to wreck my body. And I'm talking like macaroni and cheese and French fries and hush puppies and deep fried fish and tartar sauce and all that stuff. But what happens at Golden Corral is you go in there hungry and you get the first plate. And are you an eat off your plate while you're adding stuff to your plate guy, or are you wait to get to the table?
I absolutely
am. I eat off my plate, and then I go back to the table, and you get the corn and all that stuff. At every plate that you get at Golden Corral, you get less hungry. And I think like the first plate is glorious. It's the most delicious thing in the world because you're starving. It's deep fried. It's crap. It's good. And then the second plate, you're like, I'm not that hungry anymore, but this is okay.
See,
and it gets progressively worse every time you go back up there.
You're not going with the right goal in mind. I go to Golden Corral to turn a profit, Ari. Their cost must exceed my cost, or I have failed.
So how much is Golden Corral now? I don't even know. Is it like $9 or something?
That's a good question. The last time I went, I want to say it was like $15.99, but I'm sure it's much more expensive now.
Yeah, Jason's with me on this. I agree. Steak has to be good quality unless it's chicken fried steak. That is the perfect take. Yeah. So how many sirloin steaks do you have to consume to make sure that they're in the red after you walk out of that?
Well, so sirloin right now, sirloin right now is very expensive. But back then, if you got it wholesale, I'm thinking you're probably getting it for like $2.99, $3.50 a pound. So you got to eat a couple pounds, and 2-3 pounds of steak to really do some damage. But the fresh veggies cost some money. The fruit costs some money.
The rolls are probably not very expensive.
The rolls do not cost anything at all, but they are delicious.
Oh, you can order online at Golden Corral now. Did you know that?
That seems like a bad idea.
Who's ordering online?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out how much it costs for one all-you-can-eat pass. Because I feel like if it's probably $16 now. Oh, no.
Oh, I bet it's more than that.
Oh, breakfast is $10.49 per person. Adult dinner is $14.99.
Oh, $14.99. Okay. I can beat Golden Corral then. Still, in my current state, where I can't eat nearly as much as I used to. I guarantee you I can beat Golden Corral, especially with the price of meat these days.
How many steaks is that? That's 6 steaks?
Well,
that's an obscene amount of food, Andy.
Well, yeah. I mean, have you never eaten 3 pounds of steak in one sitting?
No, I've never been a gorge myself with steak person.
That's not even gorging. That's just delicious.
I only gorge with carbs, which is kind of the reason why I need Peloton.
Man, you and I need to see.
I get sick when I gorge with meat. It makes me. It's like
yes, because it fills you up naturally. It fills you up the way it's supposed to.
I know. I want to be filled up the artificial way.
We're gonna get you gorging correctly. If you got to gorge the right way.
Yeah, that's true.
I can't wait. All right, Ari, I want pics. I want a full report from this workout.
Oh, okay.
People need to know.
Yeah, I'll take a video of him. Maybe I'm just meeting him for the first time. Got to play it cool because he seems like a cool dude. But when we get together on Sunday, I'll give you a full report. Okay,
Nishan, I gotta answer this question though before we go. Andy, what's your buffet strategy for a fancy place? It's all oysters and lobster, no carbs. Since they're god, yeah. If there's seafood, good seafood on the buffet, just wipe it clean, wipe it all onto my plate. I'll take it.
Have you ever been to the Bellagio Lobster Buffet in Vegas?
I have not.
Yeah. If you go to that and you eat a roll, you're an idiot. Like if they've got but it's like $125 a person.
Yeah,
which is not that expensive. If
a
you
Brazilian steakhouse, I love those little rolls they make, but I'm not wasting my time on them. I'm not wasting my time on that salad bar.
Would you rather have the perfect roll or the perfect steak?
Perfect steak.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah. I like steak. I don't know.
And the perfect steak is a tomahawk ribeye.
Yeah.
So Alabama, they're just doing it at lunch. Just for lunch. Here's a tomahawk ribeye.
Yeah. You know what I haven't had in a long time, but now sounds really good, and I definitely can't eat it, is chicken fried steak.
Chicken fried steak.
I haven't had a good chicken fried steak in a long time. I don't even know where you go to get one. Where do you go to get one? Golden Corral, and that's it?
No, there used to be a place in Gainesville called Grandy's, which was a chain that was all over the South. And on Wednesday nights when I was in college, it was chicken fried steak night, and you could get a chicken fried steak dinner. So chicken fried steak and gravy with 2 sides for $3.99. It was the greatest deal ever.
What?
It was amazing.
And is it out of business now?
Oh, considerably.
Yeah,
buildings been torn down. And
somebody had a really bad business plan there. But I'm just saying, like, I'm in Texas. I think that's a place that you can get a good country fried steak.
Oh,
like, I don't even know where I would. I wouldn't even know if I walked out my door and someone's like, "You got to get a country fried steak in the next hour." I would just drive to.
Yeah, Nick Terry suggests Waffle House, which that you can get one there.
Did they have that there? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, but yeah. Well, when we do our little tour through the SEC, maybe
everyone's always talking about Cracker Barrel. What's the real chicken fried steak place? I don't want the chain restaurant version. I want the best version I can get. Like
there was a place called Pink Magnolia in Dallas that did a chicken fried ribeye, but I believe that place went out of business. But I ate there once and it was delicious.
Best chicken fried steak in Dallas, Bubba's Cook's Country. That sounds good.
There you go. You got to go to that place. There's a mini chain in the Metroplex, Babe's Chicken Dinner House.
Mm-hmm.
It's just family style.
Oh, that's on here. That's on this list.
Yeah, family style fried chicken. Oh, that's right, because you can get fried chicken or chicken fried steak, and then they also have mashed potatoes and gravy, and rolls and other
There's
sides.
actually quite a bit of places like 10 minutes from my house that have.
We need to go to Bates.
Can you, if you do a country fried steak, do you just lose it for the day? Is it over after that one meal?
If you smother it in gravy and eat a bunch of rolls with it and a bunch of mashed potatoes, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm gonna leave you with a take before we go. These poor people. I'm so sorry. I like gravy. It's fine. I usually get my stuff without it. I don't put it on my mashed potatoes and I don't put it on things. Like if there's a gravy boat at a Thanksgiving feast, I've always passed on it for some reason.
Probably better for your waistline.
Yeah, like you're not
Not
like
better for your taste buds, though. That's why I'm kicking you off the show. Ari's off the show. This show's been brought to you by Sling TV, the TV you love for the price you'll love. Check out sling.com for special offers. And thank you so much for listening. I hope this Mark Stoops, John Calipari thing just keeps going. I really want it to still be a thing when we do our next show on Monday. But it's been a pleasure. We've got a big week coming up for you next week. Fred Siegel, Mr. Freezing Cold, takes himself. He's got a new book out. We're going to talk to him about some of my and Ari's takes that were not so great. And even our guy, Stuart Mandel, who made the book. He'll be on next week. Ari and I'll be together. We're getting that much closer to football season. I can taste it. Talk to you soon.